इन्हें लगेगा।
बुद्धं शरणं गच्छामि, धम्मं शरणं गच्छामि, संघं शरणं गच्छामि,
बुद्धं शरणं गच्छामि, धम्मं शरणं गच्छामि, संघं शरणं गच्छामि,
बुद्धं शरणं गच्छामि, धम्मं शरणं गच्छामि, संघं शरणं गच्छामि,
बुद्धं शरणं गच्छामि, धम्मं शरणं गच्छामि, संघं शरणं गच्छामि,
बुद्धं शरणं गच्छामि, धम्मं शरणं गच्छामि, संघं शरणं गच्छामि,
बुद्धं शरणं गच्छामि, धम्मं शरणं गच्छामि, संघं शरणं गच्छामि,
बुद्धं शरणं गच्छामि, धम्मं शरणं गच्छामि, संघं शरणं गच्छामि,
बुद्धं शरणं गच्छामि, धम्मं शरणं गच्छामि,
बुद्धं शरणं गच्छामि धम्मं शरणं गच्छामि संघं शरणं गच्छामि
बुद्धं शरणं गच्छामि धम्मं शरणं गच्छामि संघं शरणं गच्छामि
बुद्धं शरणं गच्छामि धम्मं शरणं गच्छामि संघं शरणं गच्छामि
बुद्धं शरणं गच्छामि धम्मं शरणं गच्छामि संघं शरणं गच्छामि
बुद्धं शरणं गच्छामि धम्मं शरणं गच्छामि संघं शरणं गच्छामि
बुद्धं शरणं गच्छामि धम्मं शरणं गच्छामि संघं शरणं गच्छामि
बुद्धं शरणं गच्छामि धम्मं शरणं गच्छामि संघं शरणं गच्छामि
बुद्धं शरणं गच्छामि धम्मं शरणं गच्छामि संघं शरणं
बुद्धं शरणं गच्छामि धम्मं शरणं गच्छामि संघं शरणं गच्छामि
बुद्धं शरणं गच्छामि धम्मं शरणं गच्छामि संघं शरणं गच्छामि
बुद्धं शरणं गच्छामि धम्मं शरणं गच्छामि संघं शरणं गच्छामि
बुद्धं शरणं गच्छामि धम्मं शरणं गच्छामि संघं शरणं गच्छामि
बुद्धं शरणं गच्छामि धम्मं शरणं गच्छामि संघं शरणं गच्छामि
बुद्धं शरणं गच्छामि धम्मं शरणं गच्छामि संघं शरणं गच्छामि
बुद्धं शरणं गच्छामि धम्मं शरणं गच्छामि संघं शरणं गच्छामि
बुद्धं शरणं गच्छामि धम्मं शरणं गच्छामि संघं शरणं गच्छामि
Namo Buddhaya. Celebrating the day of Vesak is indeed a sacred occasion to millions of Buddhists around the world. As we honor the birth, enlightenment, and passing of the Buddha, we can all be inspired by his teachings. Let us celebrate the Buddha's wisdom by taking action for others with compassion and solidarity, and by renewing our commitment to build a peaceful world. Celebrating this year the 2566th Vesak, which commemorates the Buddha's birth, enlightenment, and Mahaparinirvana, the Mahabodhi Society of India and the Dhamma Program Organizing Committee of the United Theravada Bhikkhuni Sangha International has organized this online global Vesak Dhamma Program 2022 entitled Vesak and Timeless Wisdom, Compassion and Purity of Mind for the Development of Vibrant Humanity, which started from 12th May 2022. The Global Vesak program is a series of talks by prominent bhikkhus and bhikkhunis. By the words of their wisdom from all the speakers, we hope that this brings greater inspiration for the cultivation of good ethics, that is, principle of life, wisdom and purification of mind towards the development of a vibrant human society who sincerely cultivate respect, contentment, gratitude, humility, and humanity for the well being, happiness, and benefit of all sentient beings. Today, being the third and final day of the Global Vesak program, the talk is on Buddha's Mahaparinibbana. The Buddha knew that the hour of his passing was rapidly approaching. He spoke kindly to the bhikkhus and other disciples, providing them with a final exhortation. My disciples, do not feel sorrow. Even if I were to preserve this physical body and live together with you for millions of years, the day would come when we would part. Where there is union, there is separation. This is an immutable truth.
Audio aku
This
udah off.
world now knows the teachings on the Four Noble Truths and 12 links of dependent origination. All of you understand the principles of benefiting oneself and others. The Dhamma is now complete. Even after I enter final nirvana, I will remain forever with Dhamma nature to care for you all. So, what reason is there for grief? Those beings who were ready to cross over have already done so. And for those who are not yet ready, I have planted the causes and conditions for their liberations in the future. There is no need for this body to go any further. Continue to practice in accordance with my teachings, for that is where my Dhamma body resides. The Buddha spoke with great authority. Even then, he had maintained a majestic presence. Then the Buddha peacefully entered the final nirvana. Welcoming you all to this third and final day of the Global Vesak program, I now invite I I now invite Venerable Bhikkhuni Santini Mahateri from Indonesia to please give the opening salutation.
Namo Buddhaya, most venerables, my dear Dhamma sisters and Dhamma brothers, ladies and gentlemen. Today is the third day to commemorate Vesak in Global Vesak Dhamma program. Just like 2 days ago, today we are honored to have the speakers from several countries, namely Venerable Bhikkhu Bisiwali Nayaka Mahatero from India, Venerable Ananda Jyoti Bhikkhu from UK, Venerable Bhikkhuni Widita Dhamma Mahateri from Vietnam, Venerable Bhikkhuni Tita Charini Teri from Indonesia, Venerable Bhikkhuni Sumanggala from Malaysia. It will surely be helpful if we pay full attention to what the honorable speakers tell us. With that, we can increase our knowledge and wisdom and put it in our daily Dhamma practice. I am so thankful to have the participation of the speakers, moderators, audience, and those working behind the screen to make this Vesak program as a success. For the benefits of us all, our presence together will provide more motivation and spirit to each of us. We hope the program is helpful and beneficial to encourage us to teach Dhamma to this generation, who can then pass it on to the next generation. For the fact that the Dhamma program has so far lasted well, we see that so many people have given lots of directions and spots, especially Bante Pisuali Mahatero and UTBSI coordinators and MBSI. Behind them, lots of people work very hard and wholeheartedly to make sure that the program running is well. We have seen the much appreciated support from Venerable Ananda Jyoti Bhikkhu, who gives his recorded video we have seen together. Through it, we learn more details about those three things we celebrate every Vesak. Before we start listening to the honorable speakers, let us prepare ourselves to energize our mind. Let us fill it with the Buddha's word first. Once again, to my seniors, bhikkhus and bhikkhunis, humbly I ask permission to lead the chanting before this program begins. My dear Dhamma sisters and Dhamma brothers, ladies and gentlemen, let us prepare ourselves. And now please join our palms together to honor to the Buddha. Arambatha Nikamatha Yunjatha Buddha Sasane Punathama Juno Senang Nalagarang Wakunjaro Yo imasming Dhamma vinaye Ampamatto vihasati Pahaya jati sangsarang Dukkha santang karisati. Rouse yourselves, try harder, devote yourselves to the teachings of the Buddha. Crush the army of death as an elephant a heart of reeds. Whoever will live diligently in this teaching and training, giving up transmigration through rebirths, will make an end of suffering. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Now, kindly, we invite Dr. Kiran Lamaji to moderate of this program. Thank you. Dr. Kiran Lamaji, please.
Thank you. Commencing this global Vesak program, the third and final day, our first speaker today is Venerable P. Sivali Mahathero, the Chief Sanganayaka and the General Secretary of the Mahabodhi Society of India. Venerable P. Sivali Nayaka Mahathero was born in Pelavatti village in the northern province of Sri Lanka as the youngest one of the five brothers and six sisters. At the age of 9, he entered the order in the village temple under the preceptorship of Venerable K. Piyatissa Mahathero of Siam Nikaya and later took Upasampada at the same temple. He graduated from the famous Vidyalankara Pirivena at Colombo. He completed his masters in Pali and Buddhist studies in the Sampurnananda Sanskrit University, Varanasi. Venerable is the General Secretary of the Mahabodhi Society of India since 2016. Under the stewardship of the Pali chanting ceremony commenced annually since 2006 at the Mahabodhi Society Bodh Gaya, and precept masters are arranged to train monks in chanting Tipitaka in proper Pali pronunciation and phonetics during the rainy retreats. As Bhikkhu Upajaya for the Bodh Gaya International Theravada Bhikkhudi ordination in January 2019. Since 2020, Venerable also organized short-term 3 months Samaneri novitiate program in Bodh Gaya, India to nurture the development of Bhikkhuni Sangha in India. Venerable P. Sivalitero is the spiritual advisor of the United Theravada Bhikkhuni Sangha International. I most heartedly welcome Venerable P. Sivalitero to please deliver your discourse.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Most venerable members of the Mahasangha, bhikkhus and bhikkhunis, and dear upasakas and upasikas joining on today's the last day of this global Vesak Day programs organized by UTBSI United Theravada Bhikkhuni Sangha International in collaboration of Mahabodhi Society of India. First of all, I wish to express my gratitude and thanks to our Bhikkhuni coordinators. They work very hard. Without their effort, without their proper communication and collaboration, the successful event cannot be achieved. Last 2 days, I have also listening for some Dhamma discourses from very great bhikkhus and also some very intelligent bhikkhunis from different parts. And I feel that they are very effective. It gave a very good message to the our community. In fact, I'm not going to give a very special speech today on any specific topic, but I would like to encourage and appreciate our Bhikkhuni coordinators and other Bhikkhunis also, that what you are doing today is it will bring a great impact on promotion and propagation of teaching of the Buddha. This is very important. I'm happy to see that the Bhikkhuni Sangha is reviving and they are working unitedly, very peacefully, and they are working very hard to bring the message of Buddha to the mass, even this difficult time. Bhikkhuni Sangha is very important. It is our responsibility as bhikkhus, as senior bhikkhus, it is our responsibility to encourage, support, give our protection, and give our full spiritual guidance to the bhikkhunis. They are like our Dhamma mothers and Dhamma sisters. And one of the greatest pillars in Buddha Sasana. So, though it is late that the recognition of the Bhikkhuni Sangha, but I must say that you are already always blessed by the Tathagata Buddha to continue your devoted Dhamma service and helping the mass community and helping to the suffering people of the world to understand the teachings of the Buddha. We are celebrating 2566 Buddha Jayanti. In India, we call it Buddha Jayanti. In some other countries, it's called Day of Vesak or Vesak Pohe Day and Buddha Purnima, etc. So today, I think significance of today's Dhamma discourse is Mahaparinibbana. It's a very emotional topic, you know. See, if I'm going to brief in a few minutes the sum of the very significant points of Buddha's last journey from Rajgir to Kushinagar, accompanies with Venerable Ananda and some other bhikkhus. Buddha continuously walking, and at the same time, he advised to Venerable Ananda how this Buddha Sasana going to be flourish and decline in the future. So this everything written down in the Mahaparinibbana Sutta. It is just like a story. Buddha is telling a story, his last story. And in one point of time, sometime Buddha is so tired because he was 80 years old by the time. His body was so fragile, work hard day and night, for almost 45 years. So as an old, with the fragile body, still with the determination of a Buddha, he continues until his the last moment, that when the moment arrived at Kushinagar, until he take the last meal. That is the moment actually, is a very touching moment, because Buddha taken his last meal, but he stopped other monks. When he found that, you see the compassion of the Buddha. He has taken the last meal, which was, it was poisonous mushroom or whatever that contained in the food, but it resulted to start again his sickness or dysentery. So somehow he knew that this food is not so healthy for other monks. So it was a deadly food to Buddha, but he wanted to save the life of other monks. So that is why he stopped taking last meal from other monks. And the other thing is that he asked Ananda Bhante, bring some water. Ananda, I feel thirsty. I feel thirsty. You see how Buddha was just like a child and very, very, very practical. That time in the month of May, this is exactly, now today, these days we are experiencing this terrible heat everywhere in India, most of the parts in northern India. So in Kushinagar, deserted area, that kind of area, remote area at that time. So definitely Buddha suffered a lot. So he asked Ananda Bhante to bring some water. I feel tired and thirsty. So after 3 times requesting, Ananda Bhante brought him water. I mean, these are significant things, how a great teacher, until his last moment, he never spent a moment of his life wasting, but for the sake of humanity. When he was lie down at the bed, the last, just before his Mahaparinibbana, one Subhadra come and Venerable Ananda wants to stop him, but Buddha asked Ananda, don't stop, let him come, let him come. Buddha was lie down with fragile body, he cannot speak even. He was just almost taking his last breath, but still Buddha is Buddha. That is why we call him Mahakarunika Tathagata Buddha. Is never reduced, never decreasing his great compassion, even at the last moment. So then Buddha asked other monks when they were crying, Ananda Bhante and other monks and nuns, they were crying around Buddha's bed. Then Buddha gave the advice, don't cry. I was keep on teaching to you again and again, don't cry, don't cry. Because whatever arises is going to be ceased, is going to be die. This is the nature of all. Be a light unto yourself. Atta Deepo Bhav. Why Dhamma Sankhara? Apmadena Sampade. Atta Deepo Bhav. So everything is going to subject to change, decay, and die. So be your own master. Be a light. Be your own light. Whatever I have, when Anandabanti asked, who is your teacher? Who will be our teacher after you gone, after you left? So when Venerable Ananda asked such a question, so Buddha never appointed any successor to be a chief or head of the Buddha Sasana after Buddha left. So Buddha says, whatever I have taught to you for last 45 years, be your own master. Follow that. Dhamma is your master. Yo dhammang passati, so mang passati. If you understand the Dhamma, if we understand the Dhamma, then you can see the Buddha. Yo dhammang passati, so mam passati. If someone understand the Buddha or realize the Buddha, if one sees the Buddha, he can seize the Dhamma. Because the Dhamma is embodiment of the Buddha, and Buddha is an embodiment of the Dhamma. So that is why it is very important to follow the last message of the Buddha. And it is significant, first message at Sarnath. He gave the first message to bhikkhus, that is Bahujana Hitaya, Bahujana Sukhaya, Attaya Hitaya, Lokaya, Devamanusana. Charata Bhikkhave Charik. So the first advice, Buddha focused to the bhikkhus to work for the welfare and happiness and peace of the world, the humanity. And the last message Buddha gave, why Dhamma Sankharam, Appamadena Sampadeta, and Attadipo Bhav. So this is the nature of the things. So work diligently to practice, realize and understand the Dhamma, then teach the Dhamma for happiness of the world, for purification of the human beings. So this is what actually bhikkhus' duties and responsibilities of bhikkhus and bhikkhunis. Not only that, even the upasakas and upasikas. Because Buddha had the 4 pillars. He developed 4 pillars gradually. Bhikkhu, bhikkhuni, upasak, upasika. So we must come together. These 4 pillars must be strong. If one is weak, then it's not easy journey at all. So the 4 pillars must be strong in the same strength. Then only Buddha Sasana will flourish. What has happened in centuries back because one pillar collapsed. Then Buddha Sasana disappeared from so many areas or not properly organized. It disappeared from various parts of the world, these countries. So we must understand this reality. Then only we can teach the Dhamma to fulfill the first message of the Buddha. Bahujana hitaya, bahujana sukhaya, atta hitaya, devanusana. So we must always concentrate that. We are monks, we are bhikkhus, we are bhikkhunis. So we are especially messengers of the Buddha, Buddha Sasana. We must not forget that. Laymen, upasaka and upasikas, they practice Dhamma, still they are having so many worldly matters to deal with, so much of chaotic life they have. But still they practice, they learn Dhamma, and they try to become a good upasaka, a good upasikas. So as bhikkhus and bhikkhunis, we completely dedicated and devoted our life, one thing to uplift ourselves, oneself, uplift from sila, samadhi and panya. The other way, to spread the Dhamma, to help others, to the suffering humanity. So these must be understood. That is why Buddha says, Parapatibaddha me jivikati, pabba jitena abhinnam pacchavekitabba. One who gone forth must always remember that our life is different from others. Not like a common life, but our life is completely devoted to help the society, to help them to follow the path of Dhamma. So we cannot get rid of this responsibility. We can't. So that is why this program organized by UTBSI, especially Mahabodhi Society, of course, we are always with you for many years. But mainly, I think you organize this program, Bhikkhuni coordinators. So it's very successful program. And I believe that many our participants on this online Dhamma teaching programs are definitely, they have benefited and they have reached, they have received a lot of words of enlightening, words of wisdom and peace and happiness, so that you can apply whatever you have heard into your daily life. Apply the Dhamma into your daily life. Just listening also helpful for a moment. If you listen the Dhamma and carefully and mindfully with attentive thoughts and mind, of course you will receive the Dhamma. You will receive the Dhamma. When you listen the Dhamma with respectful, and it will bring some changes into your life. So Dhamma must be listened respectfully, mindfully, and with faith, confidence, saddha. Because our mind is always running and running. It's very difficult to keep a moment, our mind, because the habitual mind is very fragile, It's very difficult to keep a moment. It's always conditioned with millions of millions. So many things are not helpful in our life, not meaningful at all. So that is why listening attentively, the words of Dhamma can clarify and purify into our thoughts gradually. So our mind become more stronger, our mind become more peaceful, thoughts become more clear and helping our life. So that is why it says, Dhammo have rakkati dhammachari. So when we listen carefully, of course, Dhamma will protect us. It will give blessings into our life to make a more good human being, to become a good person, to become a good Buddhist, and our human life become more valuable. Because it is very difficult to get a good human life. So Buddha says, Dullabhancha manusattam, very rare to become a human being. Dullabhancha manusattam. Buddhupadavacha dullabo is more difficult to have a Buddha's birth. Is more difficult, more and more difficult. Very rare to have a Buddha. After millions of years, aeons of years, one Buddha come. But you see, after millions of time, one Buddha come and stay just 45 years. And Buddha just leave after 45 years. You see, how short life. So we do not know. We are that fortunate to see a Buddha after 2,600 years, but still the Buddha's teaching is very much alive, very much refreshing. So that is why we must utilize this opportunity. We must utilize this opportunity. There will come such a time, there will be no Dhamma in this world at all. People behave like animals, more than animals. When there is no Dhamma in this world, can you imagine how the behavior of the people? There is no good things to hear, no truth. So what will be happen to this world? The world become full of miseries. World become full of that kind of animalistic nature. So that is why Dhamma, the truth, is great and supreme. So that is why in Dhammapada it says, Sukho Buddhanang Upado. Happy is birth of the Buddhas. Happy indeed, the birth of the Buddhas. So let's celebrate this 2566 thrice blessed occasion of the Mahakarunika Tathagata Buddha is just arriving today with full moon, and tomorrow will be the full moon of Vesak day. So let's develop our heart. Let's purify our mind, our thoughts, to realize these great supreme teachings of the Buddha, let's have a determination, determine to ourselves to teach the Dhamma to the distant parts of this planet, wherever. This is what actually mean by being a bhikkhu or being a bhikkhuni or being a good human being, upasak and upasika. This is the only that if there is a meaning of this human life, that's the only meaning of human life, to become a good human being that dedicate our life in service of humanity, in service of Dhamma, wherever is possible until our last day. So with these few words, I once again express our satisfaction and our gratitude to all our coordinators and your team, those who help you. May you be always well and happy. May you be always in good health, with peaceful mind, and realize the Dhamma here and now to help the world. And also all our members who are listening to Dhamma now, all the Sanghas, bhikkhus, other bhikkhunis, upasak and upasika, let's devote our life to realize the teaching of Buddha and spread the Buddha Dhamma for welfare and happiness of the world. May all beings be well and happy.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Today is third and final day of the Global Vesak Dhamma Program 2022, dedicated to Mahaparinirvana of the Buddha. We just heard Venerable P.C. Mahathero talking on the various aspects of Buddha and his life and teachings, and especially the detailed last hour moments of the Buddha. We now have a short Vesak video on Buddha's Mahaparinirvana for 11 minutes.
After the rains retreat, he started a walk, which would be the last walk, the last charika that he would make. And he started walking north, back actually towards Kapilavatthu, which was his hometown. But very slowly he was walking, still giving teachings along the way. Those teachings are recorded now in the Mahaparinibbana Sutta, which records the last year of the Lord Buddha's life. And during that period, he was giving the last teachings that were to be given to the Sangha specifically, and to the four assemblies as well. And when he got to Pava, there he met Chanda the smith. And Chanda was the person who made the Lord Buddha's last meal. The commentaries are at pains to point out that the meal did not cause the illness, but after the meal he fell ill. And 3 months before this point, he had already given up the will to live on. And the Buddha explained that what was now Kusinara had been a great city in previous times, and it was a city where Mahasudassana, which was the Bodhisattva himself, had been a great king, and he had lived there, and he described the glories of Kusinara in the previous times, and that it was really a place worthy of a Chakravarti king, a universal monarch, to have been living, and he had been that universal monarch, Mahasudassana. So he told Ananda he wanted to go to Kusinara. And then when he got to just outside Kusinara, he lay down between two sala trees. And the devas from all over the universe assembled around. The Brahmas came down, all from the heavens, all the devas and the Brahmas and all the celestial beings of great power came down, and they rained down flowers and perfumes over Lord Buddha at that time. But the Lord Buddha said, this is not how I am worshipped when I am properly worshipped. I am not properly worshipped by the offerings of flowers, by the offerings of incense, by the offerings of scented water. I am properly worshipped when people understand my teachings and put my teachings into practice. That is the highest worship that you can do of the Lord Buddha, is to put the teachings that he had given to you into practice. Then Ananda went into Kusinara and he told the Mallas of Kusinara, Lord Buddha was going to pass away on that night and that they should come and pay their last respects. Do not let it be said that the Lord Buddha passed away in Kusinara and you didn't come and pay respect to him before he passed away. And so the Mallas came out. Mallas are a people, you know. The Mallas came out and were paying respect family by family to the Lord Buddha all through the night. And then a very interesting thing happened. One wanderer, Paribhajika, you see, heard that the Lord Buddha, who he had never met, was going to pass away on that night. And he realized it's his final opportunity to come and get teachings from the Lord Buddha, who he had heard about, but who he had never met. So he came and he told Ananda he wants to meet the Lord Buddha. And Ananda said, no, do not bother the Lord Buddha when he's lying on his deathbed. And Subhadra said, but this is my last chance. Maybe I won't get the chance to meet the Buddha again. Then you must give me permission. And Ananda said, no, you mustn't bother the Lord Buddha when he's lying on his deathbed. And a third time he asked for permission, and the third time Ananda turned him down. And the Lord Buddha said, what is it that you're talking about? What are you discussing within my hearing? And Ananda said, there is this outside ascetic who wants to worship you. And he said, Ananda, do not turn anybody away when they want to hear teachings from the Buddha. Ananda was told to bring Subhadra to the Lord Buddha, and Lord Buddha gave teachings to Subhadra. Subhadra was ordained and he attained arahatship, and he is the last direct disciple of our Lord Buddha. At the very last moment he got ordination. And later in that night, then the Lord Buddha attained the first jhana, the second jhana, the third jhana, the fourth jhana, the fifth, the sixth, the seventh and the eighth. And then he came down through the jhanas back to the first jhana, and then he attained the second jhana, and then he attained the third jhana, and then he attained the fourth jhana, and then on the Tuesday night of Vesaka, 543 BC, the Lord Buddha entered Parinibbana and passed away, never to return. After the Lord Buddha had passed away, then various beings, you can say, spoke verses over the Lord Buddha's body. So one of the people was Brahma Sahampati, another was Anuruddha, one of his main disciples, another was Ananda. I can't explain all of these, but one other was Sakka, the Lord of the gods, and he said something which everybody knows, has heard many, many times. Anicca vata sankara, upadavaya dhammino, upajjitva nirujanti, tesan vupasamo sukho. Impermanent indeed are all processes. Arisen, they have the nature to decay. After arising, they come to cessation, and the stilling of them is blissful. And then when the Lord Buddha passed away, some of the people who were with him had not attained awakening. And they threw themselves on the ground, and they rolled around from left to right, and they cried and called out, "Too soon has the Buddha left us. Too soon has the great Samana gone away." But others, who were arahats, understanding impermanence, knew that this is the nature of reality. Whatever has arisen, even Buddhas who have arisen, have the nature to pass away, and they didn't grieve over what must be. Okay, so such is the nature of the third event that took place at the Vesak night. That was a Tuesday night in 543 BC. After the Lord Buddha passed away, just to bring it to a completion, then there was 7 days of mourning, and the Malayans prepared like a mourning festival for the Lord Buddha, and then they prepared the body like they prepare the body of a universal monarch, wrapped in silk. 500 cloths of silk were wrapped around the Lord Buddha's body, and then they were ready for the cremation of the Lord Buddha. Kassapa had arrived and worshipped with his forehead at the feet of Lord Buddha. And after that, after he had paid his respects, right, the bier spontaneously burned, spontaneously burst into flames, and the cremation took place. After the Lord Buddha had been cremated, they collected the relics, the bones and ash that was left over from the cremation. Eventually, the relics were split into 10 sections, like this. And it's those 10 sections that were later divided up yet again by King Asoka and spread into the 84,000 viharas that he built throughout his empire. So everybody say sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. That was indeed an interesting and a detailed description of the Mahaparinirvana of the Buddha. Now, our next speaker is again Venerable Bhikkhu Ananda Jyoti Mahathero, Malaysia, Thailand. It is a pre-recorded video cassette. Pre-recorded video talk. Bhikkhu Anandajoti Mahathir was born near Birmingham in England and spent the better part of his first 35 years there, but is now a resident in the East since 1987, mainly in Sri Lanka, India, Thailand, and Malaysia. He was fully ordained in the Theravada tradition in Sri Lanka in 1996. Since 2000, he has been working on studies, texts, and translations from the early Buddhist tradition, which can be found on the website Ancient Buddhist Texts. There are now well over 150 works of various sorts on the site. In 2009, he started the Photo Dhamma website, which now has over 15,000 high definition photographs taken at temples, historicals, and pilgrimage sites throughout Southeast Asia. He has given many talks on Buddhist thought, religion, history, and culture, which can be found at YouTube channel. In 2012, he started a website for Dhamma documentaries, which now has introductions and embeds of over 700 documentaries on Dhamma, its related cultures, and ecology. He is also the webmaster on Godwin homepage, a site dedicated to Godwin Samaratane, who was his first Dhamma teacher. These include numerous books and recordings of Godwin's teachings. Bhikkhu Ananda Jyoti Mahathero is a pre-video recorded talk.
My dear sisters in the Dhamma, today is the most holy day of the Buddhist year, in which we celebrate the birth, the awakening, and the passing of our Lord Buddha. On this very important day, I would like to make some reflections on the opportunities that we have and how rare and difficult they are. We see in the world around us at the present moment multiple crises have arisen, including climate change, which threatens to destroy the environment in which we live, species destruction, which is ever present and destroying life on Earth forever for many species, wars that are causing shortages and destruction and death to so many people. And it seems like the world just goes from crisis to crisis. Before the war, there was the COVID pandemic, and we do not know what is coming next. Every day in our chanting schedule here at IBC, we finish by giving the last words of the Buddha, but it's preceded by a reflection on the rare state of our existence here. Apamadena bhikkhave sampadeta. I'll comment on it later because it's repeated at the end. Buddhupado dulabo lokasmin. The arising of a Buddha in this world is rare. This is an auspicious kappa, and in this auspicious kappa we have 5 Buddhas that will arise. 3 that preceded our Gautama Buddha, and 1 who will come later, Metteyya. We are now in the period when Gautama Buddha's sasana is available. Now, even the arising of a Buddha is a very rare occasion. There are many kappas when no Buddha at all arise, sunya kappas, which are empty entirely for the whole duration of having any Buddhas. Many kappas only have 1 Buddha arise. In ours, we are very fortunate that 5 Buddhas will arise.
But even so, it is a very, very rare occasion that we have the opportunity to come into contact with a Buddha. Manusatta patilabo dulabo. Acquiring a human existence is rare. When we look around the world, we see that most creatures are not human. There are, of course, only 7 or 8 billion human beings alive today, whereas there are many, many billions of creatures who are not human beings, who are in the Tirachana Yoni, or the animal realm. Even amongst the creatures that we can see with no special spiritual powers, even amongst those creatures, we are in a vast, vast minority. There is only a very, very few human beings compared to even the animal life that we can see, and the fish life, and so on and so forth. And yet beyond that, there are creatures who have fallen away from the earthly realm into the lower realms, and they outnumber the people in the human realm enormously. And again, there are many who are in the Deva realms, and they also outnumber the people who are in the human realm by a vast amount. So the Buddha did teach that getting a human rebirth is the most optimal birth for being able to fulfill and realize the Dhamma. Of course, if you are in the lower realms, then it is extremely difficult to practice any Dhamma and get any good results because of the continual suffering that you are exposed to. And if you're in the heavenly realms, it's also very difficult to practice Dhamma, not impossible, but very difficult to practice Dhamma because your mind is constantly occupied with pleasurable outcomes that have arisen. The human realm, which sits between those and which we can understand as giving a mixture of both happiness and unhappiness, is the ideal realm whereby we can see the problems that have arisen in samsara and make some sort of effort to overcome it. So a Buddha arising is rare, being a human being is rare. Dulabha saddha sampatti. It is also rare to gain faith. Even amongst the 7 billion human beings who are on this planet that we know about, I'm sure there are other planets where there are other beings who study Dhamma and so on, but we know about the people on this planet. Most are not Buddhist. We are very much in the minority. And even those who are nominally Buddhist are not practicing Buddhist. So if you gain faith, and faith here doesn't just mean adherence to parents, an inheritance from a parent, but it means actually being committed to faith, then this is extremely rare indeed. It's probably only a few % of the population of the earth is what we could say has gained faith. Pabhajita bhavo dulabo. Even more rare are the people who have had the opportunity to go forth. Even for most people, it is extremely difficult for them to practice Dhamma in the complete and full sense because of the commitments that they have to their families, to their communities, to their nation, or whatever it is. They find themselves with enormous commitments in life and not able to devote themselves fully to the Dhamma. This isn't to say that lay people cannot practice the Dhamma, but it's much more difficult to practice it to its full extent if you're not ordained. If you are ordained and if you really have faith, then of course it's possible to practice more or less all day and all night and keep the mind on the Dhamma and on the things that are important and will produce a good fruit in the future. Saddhamma savanan atidulaban. Hearing the true Dhamma is extremely rare. It's quite interesting that this comes after ordination, according to the sequence in which we've got it. Of course, now with the internet and with people being very educated and so on, it's possible for all people, not just monastics, to study the true Dhamma. This is definitely the case. It's put in this sequence here because for most people in the earlier times, they would have had to have become monastic first to get an education, and at that time they would be introduced to the true Dhamma and be able to practice in accordance with it. So it's that's the reason for the sequence. Of course, everybody now, because of the way that information is disseminated in our present society, everybody has access, enormous access actually, to the true Dhamma and can study it. But then we have this situation that this is very, very, very specific. A Buddha has arisen and we're still in the time that his sasana is available. We have been reborn as human beings in this life. We have gained faith in the teaching, gone forth, and we are in contact with the true Dhamma. This must be, by percentage terms, extremely rare indeed in this long, long journey in samsara. It therefore behoves us at the very least to make our strongest possible efforts in this given opportunity that we have to try to put into practice as best we can and with as much effort as we can the true Dhamma that we have learned. Evan divase o wadi. So day in and day out, the Buddha advised them, saying, Handadani bhikkhave amantiyamiwo vaya Dhamma sankara appamadena sampadeta. Come now, monks, for I tell you, all conditioned things are subject to decay. Strive on with heedfulness. And this, I would think, is the best thing that a monastic can advise anybody at Vesak or at any other time, is while you have the opportunity, given all these difficulties of getting into this opportunity, while you have the health, while you have the possibility of putting the Dhamma into practice, then take the Buddha's advice and strive on with heedfulness. I'd like to wish all our sisters in the Dhamma, all our brothers in the Dhamma, and all people who are watching these videos today all the very best in their practice of the Dhamma. And I would just close with a short blessing. Sabbitio vivajjantu sabbarogo vinasatu Mate bhavattvantarayo sukhi dīghāyuko bhava abhivadana sīlesa nicchan vardhapachayino chattaro dhamma vadanti ayuvanno sukhan balan.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. I would like to invite our next speaker, Venerable Bhikkhuni Vijita Dhamma Liu Thap Mahathering from Vietnam. Bhikkhuni Vijita Dhamma Liu Thap Mahathering, born on July 26, 1967 in Hue, Vietnam, and became a nun right after she graduated from Hue Teachers Training College, major in English in 1991. After being trained in Mahayana tradition for 3 years, she has diverted to Theravada tradition and practiced at Bu Long Monastery, Ho Chi Minh City, under the guidance of Venerable Punna Vijay Mahathero in Mavi. In 1998, having passed the 5-year training course, 1993 to 1997, there she was sent to University of Delhi, India, where she has done Diploma in Pali, Gold Medal, MA, MPhil, PhD in Buddhist Studies, major in Pali and Abhidhamma. She was invited to teach Pali for postgraduate course in the same department. She attended many national and international conferences with papers presented and published. She was fully ordained in Sri Lanka in 2002 and was one of the first Theravada Bhikkhuni in Vietnam. After that, she attended many meditation courses in India and Myanmar. In 2012, she organized international Bhikkhuni and Samaneri ordinations and a 3-month training course at Vietnam Mahapajapati Nunnery in Vaishali, Bihar, India for 38 Bhikkhuni and Samaneris from India, Thailand, Malaysia, and Vietnam. She acted as the Kammavacharini for the Bhikkhuni ordinations in Songkhla, Thailand in 2014 and in Wisma Kusalayani in Lembang, Bandung, Indonesia in 2015. In 2016, she was appointed as Pavatini at the Bhikkhuni ordination at Sakyaditi Bhikkhuni and Meditation Training Center, Moratuwa, Sri Lanka. Now she is the Deputy Head, Department of Dhamma English, Vietnam Buddhist University in Ho Chi Minh City, and Abbess of Vien Cong Nunnery, Vung Tau Province, Vietnam. I invite Bhikkhuni Vidita Dhamma Liu Thap Mahathir.
Namo Buddhaya. Respected Venerable P. Vivali Mahathero, the General Secretary of Mahabodhi Society of India, respected Venerable Bhikkhu Sangha, and also respected Venerable Sandini Mahathiri from Indonesia, Venerable Sumangala from Malaysia, and all the Bhikkhuni members. Dear Dr. Kiran Lama, the moderator, and all the Dhamma friends. Today, our theme is about the Buddha's Mahaparinibbana. Even though the full moon day of Vesak is the thrice blessing event, commemorating the Buddha's birth, enlightenment, and passing away. When we think about his birth or about his enlightenment, we feel very happy. But if we think about the Buddha's Mahaparinibbana, his passing away, we cannot help to feel very sad because we are unfortunate that we are unable to see the Buddha in person. He is no more with us, we can imagine the Buddha's image through his statues or through the books, through the sutras. It is really a loss for us. But if we think another way, we remember the story of Vakkalithera. At the Buddha's time, he belonged to a Brahmin family of Savatthi and became a very proficient in the three Vedas. After he once saw the Buddha, he could never tire of looking at him and followed him around. In order to be closer to him, he became a monk, and he spent all his time, apart from meals and bathing, in contemplating the Buddha's person, his physical beauty. One day, the Buddha said to him, "The sight of my full body is useless. He who sees the Dhamma, he it is that see me." In Pali, yo ko dhammang passati, so mang passati. Yo mang passati, so dhammang passati. So this is our consolence, that at least if we cannot see the Buddha, but if we can see the Dhamma, it means that we also see the Buddha. So the problem here is, what is Dhamma? Then if we can see the Dhamma, then we can see the Buddha. But what is Dhamma? If we look up in the dictionary, in the glossary of Pali and Buddhist term, the term Dhamma has 4 meanings. The first meaning is a phenomenon, an event. That's why everything can be Dhamma. Even the body or mind, matter, materiality or mentality, everything, true or false, is Dhamma. This is the first meaning. The second meaning of Dhamma is mental quality, only mental quality. And the third meaning of Dhamma is the doctrine, the truth. And the fourth meaning, Dhamma means Nibbana, Asankata. But here, in ancient India, Dhamma means what is imbued or led by, from Tareti Dhamma. So Dhamma means the characteristic, the nature of a particular element or the law of nature. For instance, the nature or characteristic of fire is to burn, and burn whatever comes into contact with it. The nature or characteristic of ice is to be cool, and cool whatever or whoever comes in contact with it. We also say that it is nature's law that all beings have to face death, illness, and old age. So, in other words, Dhamma is the law of nature. So, for example, let us examine what is the nature of the mind. You see, at this moment, whatever arises in our mind, whether it is anger or jealousy or arrogance, these are negativities that may arise from time to time, and as such, it is also called the nature of mind or the Dhamma of the mind. And if we observe, we can see that any defilement, any negativity of anger or jealousy or arrogance, when it arises, it results in tremendous heat and agitation within. And this is its nature, its Dhamma. If anger has arisen within, then another part of nature, agitation, will follow as an inevitable result every single time. These defilements always arise coupled with agitation. This was called sahajata paccaya, meaning the condition of arising together. It means the misery arises along with its own consequence. It owes effect every time. For example, when burning coals are put in a container, they will burn the container before heating up the external environment. Anyone who comes near it will feel the heat. Similarly, if we keep ice in a vessel, if you first cool the vessel before cooling the external environment, this is the unchangeable law of nature. Just like fire, when a person is angry, he first becomes the victim of his own anger before spreading vibrations of agitation and heat in the environment. And all those who come in contact with this person feel the agitation, the heat. This is the expression or nature of a mind dwelling in ignorance manifesting itself. As soon as one distances oneself from the burning coals, then the heat will subside. So if we realize the profound truth that when any defilements like jealousy, anger, or arrogance, etc., arise, then it will inevitably burn them. But if we put the burning coals in the mental vessel, then the result can't be anything but heat and agitation. At such times, they behave in ignorance and not realizing the immutable law of the nature, because no one in their rightful mind would want to generate burning agitation for themselves. A child in his ignorance does not know that fire burns, and then he puts his hand on the burning coals. Startled, he will pull his hand back. But curious, he again puts his hand on the fire and then pulls it back when it burns. This may be repeated a few times until he finally realized that this is fire, it burns, and it should never be touched. A child will understand. But what do? Do we understand? We keep filling ourselves with more and more burning coals, burning ourselves and others. It is sheer ignorance. When anger, jealousy, aversion, or arrogance, or some absurd defilement arises, it keeps multiplying within, filling us with thoughts of the event or the person who was instrumental in its occurrence. We justify it to ourselves by saying, oh, such and such happened, which angered me, so it was not my fault. It is only natural that I became angry. We often think like that. It is indeed natural. You are angry with someone or some event which obstructed you from reaching your desired goal. Maybe, but the fact also is that we are burning ourselves. We have not seen the heat within. The mind is only looking outwards. It doesn't look inwards. But on the other hand, if instead of burning coals, we put cool ice in the vessel, then it will result in soothing and calming coolness, because ice will also follow its own nature to cool. The attribute of minds that carry cooling properties are loving kindness, compassion, and joy in another's happiness. We can say that is metta, karuna, and mudita. So if we have these positive mental properties, we will feel very calm, very cool, not only for ourselves, but also for others around us. And the science or the technique of looking within to see our mind is called vipassana. So vipassana means to look inside, to see the true nature of our body and our mind. Though we need to be aware of the external reality, but to observe within what considered vital for our mental development, to work the reactions that arise within due to events outside is one of the most important aspects of the consciousness. The day we can truly see the truth is when we start to understand the pure Dhamma. We can understand that whenever I generate defilements in my mind, it inevitably results in agitation. And we begin to understand this absolute truth. After repeatedly watching this phenomena a few times, we also learn to watch this reality objectively, which means initially we observe the event that take place outside and see those events as the cause of our anger, our jealousy, our hostility, etc. And when we mature on the path, we will disengage ourselves from events outside and we focus attention on what happens within when we get angry. We begin to see that in such situations, we burn with agitation and unhappiness. And if we continue to watch within and understand this fundamental reality of Dhamma, our nature and behavior starts changing and we grow deeper into Dhamma. We also learn that getting muddy with defilements is not Dhamma. We also see that awakening wholesome qualities like compassion, loving kindness, and rejoice in others' happiness is Dhamma. We know that if we lead with fire, we will certainly burn. And conversely, if we lead with the ice, we will remain cool. Nothing can alter this phenomenon. This is the new universal law that governs all without any exception. It does not differentiate between people belonging to the different religions or different sects or different community. Whether we are Hindu or Muslim or Buddhist or we are from any other community, we also live under this law that if we live with fire, we will be burned, but if we live with ice, we will remain cool. And the day we recognize this universal aspect of Dhamma, that day we will make a quantum leap in the human evolution. And if we forget this universal truth and persist in putting undue attention on external rites and rituals, then the work of self-evolution will slow down and indeed we will move further away from the Dhamma. So Dhamma is universal and we have only one yardstick to check whether we are growing on the path in the Dhamma, that is to see whether defilements are decreasing. This is the simple and only yardstick to measure Dhamma. Then whichever caste, every sect or every class we may belong to, become immaterial when we understand the true and the universal nature of Dhamma. In the Dhamma Cakkappavattana Sutta, when Venerable Kondanya got enlightened and became a Sotapanna, a stream enterer, he announced, Yang kinchi samudaya dhammang, sabbantang nirodha dhammang ti. It means everything that has a beginning has an end. So it means that he realized the truth of the arising and the passing of everything. So it is also that truth is also the Dhamma. And when he understands that, the truth, he is called to have the Dhamma Chakku, the eye that sees the truth. And you see, if we see everything that everything that has a beginning has an end, it is impermanent. Nothing is permanent. If happiness, there is happiness, we do not attach to happiness because we know that it has a beginning, then you have an end. It is impermanent, so we don't get attached to happiness. And when we have unhappiness, something uneasy, some dukkha, some suffering, we know that no, it is also impermanent. Nothing lasts long. So sooner or later, this suffering will also end. By seeing this, we will have upekkha, or equanimity. Equanimity towards on the up and down of life. And even though we still live in this worldly life, but we have the equanimous attitude. We can feel calm and happy even among the up and down, the success and the failure, or the happiness or unhappiness. And by this, I would like to say that nowadays, when we cannot see the Buddha in person, we try to see the Dhamma, to see the law of nature. Whatever we see, either the body or the mind or external things, we know that it is the true characteristic of impermanence, of unsatisfactoriness, of no self. Nothing can last long. Nothing is mine or myself. So everything is only Dhamma. Everything is rising and passing away. So that is also the real understanding of the Dhamma. And if we can practice like this, we are following what the Buddha tried to show us in his teaching. And I hope that on this auspicious day of Vesak Puja, when everyone in the Buddhist world remember the Buddha, honor his Dhamma, we try to look within and see the good characteristic of awakening, of love and kindness, of compassion, of rejoicing with others' attainments, on the good characteristic of the Buddha. We try to shape it within us and to see, to recognize it. It is always also available within our mind if we know how to cultivate it. And I hope that in this spirit, all the audience will be happy that even though we cannot see the Buddha in person, but if we see the Dhamma in everything inside us and around us, we can also see the Buddha inside us. And he's always with us. And it is our happiness. And thank you so much for your listening. May you be well, happy, and peaceful. Mr. Karan, you haven't unmuted your mic.
I now invite Bhikkhuni Chittacharni Theri from Indonesia. Born in 1986, Bengkalis, Indonesia, she received her Samaneri ordination in February 2008 at Veluvana Vihara, Indonesia. Later, she was ordained as Bhikkhuni in Theravada tradition on May 2012 at Dekandurala Bhikkhuni Training Center, Sri Lanka. She obtained her postgraduate diploma in Buddhist studies in 2012, a year later MA of Pali and Buddhist studies, and a PhD in 2018 from University of Kelaniya, Sri Lanka. She is now a lecturer of Siap, a Buddhist high school in Indonesia. She is the secretary of Buddhist Education Master Study Program Central Java 2019-2021 and the chair lady of the Institute for Scientific Publications and Publishings LPIP SIAP 2021-2025. She is also serving under the leadership of Mahasangha of Indonesia as a Sangha member of Interorganizational Relations Institute 2020-2022, Research and Development Division 2018-2020. She is a community education coordinator of Mahasangha Society Educational Institute, a speaker of regional and international Buddhist conferences. I invite Bhikkhuni Chittacharini Theri.
Namo Sang Adi Buddhaya. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa. Namo Sarve Bodhisattvaya Maha Sattvaya. My heartfelt thanks are extended to all respected Sangha member and the organizer. It is an honor to be invited to this Global Vesak Dhamma Program 2022. Next few days, we are going to celebrate Vesak Day. It is not merely a celebration, but it has a profound meaning that should be always be born in our mind. The teaching of the Buddha and his message of compassion, peace, and goodwill have moved millions. Millions around the world follow the teachings of the Buddha, and on the day of Vesak, commemorate the birth, the enlightenment, and the passing away of the Buddha. When the Buddha reached 80 years, he felt that his days in this world were coming to an end. Although he had suffered the sickness and effect of old age like any other person, he was different from ordinary people. He overcame certain painful feelings with his mental powers developed through advanced mental trainings. His mind was always sparkling like a radiant diamond, even though his body was weakened. In this last year of his life, he decided to spend his last day in the peaceful and straightforward surroundings of Kusinara, a small village in northern India. He preferred to leave the large and prosperous cities such as Rajagaha and Sawati with their crowds, merchants, and kings. The starting point of your journey to the countries was Rajagaha, the capital of Magadha. He journeyed on foot, accompanied by Venerable Ananda and many disciples. It was a long journey, and the party traveled through many cities and villages. By this time, Venerable Rahula and Yasodhara had already passed away, and so had the Buddha's two chief disciples, Venerable Moggallana and Venerable Sariputta. During the journey, the Buddha's thought turned to the welfare of the order of monks. Many of his teachings advise how the monk should behave to ensure that the order will carry on after his death. He reminded his disciples to practice all the truths that had taught them. Once the Buddha said, "However, when I pass away, you may think the master doctrines is gone and the master is no more. You should not think so, because the Dhamma and discipline I taught you will be your master. Let the Dhamma be your light. Let it be your refuge. Don't seek any other refuge. Monk, you should well protect and preserve the doctrines which I advise you to prove, so that this holy life may take its course and continue for ages to come for the welfare of many, to console the world, and for the happiness and welfare of the heavenly beings and men." One teaching he gave reminded the disciple to practice the 7 factors of enlightenment. Another teaching was on the 4 ways to test whether the teachings was the actual teaching of the Buddha or not, by comparing it with the Vinaya, the disciplinary rules for the order, and the sutras, discourses of the Buddha. There was one teaching that the Buddha gave again and again during the many stops in his last journey. It was a sermon on following the 3 divisions of the Noble Eightfold Path, namely morality, concentration, and wisdom, which would help his disciple to put an end to all sufferings. After a long journey, shortly after receiving a meal from a smith named Chunda, the Buddha, weak from old age and illness, became severely ill. At a place called Kusinara, he lay down on his right side between 2 sal trees, which immediately became a place blooms out of seasons. Before he passing away, he declared that all conditioned things are subject to vanish. Strive with diligence. These were his last words. The Buddha died peacefully. His head was pointed to the north, his face to the west. The story fell how the earth shook, and the tree suddenly burst into bloom, the petals falling gently on his still body, falling out of reverence. Divine coral flowers and divine sandalwood powders fell from above on the Buddha's body out of reverence. It is impossible not to remember the Venerable Ananda gratefully in this connection. His share in preserving the Buddha's work is paramount to any other Sangha member, and his figure is inseparable from Tipitaka text. The history of humanity records how the Buddha got enlightenment and saw a path that lead and guide the world till today. That is solely to emanate wisdom and offer insights that help us overcome numerous challenges and achieve the welfare of humanity. Even though the Buddha passed away more than 25 centuries ago, his teaching and spirit are still with us. For Buddhists everywhere, it is indeed a felicitous opportunity on this day marking the birth, enlightenment, and passing away of the Buddha. All of us, Buddhists and non-Buddhists alike, can reflect on his life and draw inspiration from his teaching. Celebrate his message of compassion and devotion to the service of humanity. The Buddha's teachings of love, compassion, non-violence, and empathy transcends, of course, the society. This message today perhaps more relevant than before. On the day of Vesak, let us renew our commitment to build a world of peace and dignity for all. May all beings be well and happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. I invite our last speaker for today, Venerable Bhikkhuni Sumangala from Malaysia. Born in 1966 in Selangor, Malaysia, she graduated with a MA in Industrial and Psychology, UTM 1999 Malaysia, and a MA in Buddhist Philosophy, International Buddhist College, Thailand, 2011. She renounced corporate life as a branch manager and became an Anagarika since 2005 under spiritual guidance of Venerable Bhikkhu Mahinda Mahathera, Malaysia, and Venerable Nadimale Sumedha Manio from Sri Lanka. She took her Pabaja in 2008. In 2015, she took her higher ordination of a bhikkhuni with Venerable Bhikkhuni Shanti Theri, her Pavatini, the chief of Indonesia Theravada Bhikkhuni Sangha, and Venerable Bhikkhu Bisri Saranankaranayaka Mahathera, the chief judiciary monk of Malaysia, her Upajjhaya. She is the abbess of Arya Vihara and the spiritual advisor of Gotabi Vihara Society, Malaysia, since 2016. She is a speaker in various Buddhist events and conferences and a meditation teacher in regional and abroad. She organizes Dhamma education for family, uniquely designed as ARK program, Arya Family Youth and Children Camps, short-term Samaneri novitiate program, Metta and Mindfulness workshop, Compassion in Action projects, and education for the needy, pilgrimage to the Buddha's holy sites, individual and family counseling. In 2019, she pioneered the Arya Monastic and Laity Training Program, one of the first Theravada Bhikkhuni and Laity Development Program in Malaysia to nurture potential Dhamma leader, noble practitioner, and Bhikkhuni Sangha in Malaysia. She is now leading a building project team and invite all supporters to donate and build the new Arya Vihara at Puasa, Damansara, Selangor, the first Malaysian Theravadan Bhikkhuni nunnery and Dhamma training center. I invite Venerable Bhikkhuni Sumangala.
Thank you, Dr. Kiran Lama. Most respected Venerable P. Sibali Thero, and all Venerable Bhikkhus, most respected Ayah Santini Mahatheri, and all Venerable Bhikkhunis, brothers and sisters in the Dhamma. Today I'd like to present on the significance of the Buddha's Mahaparinibbana based on the Digha Nikaya number 16. We know that the Buddha's Mahaparinibbana is recorded in the longest sutta, and this sutta consists of the gist of the Buddha's teaching for 45 years. And according to the Theravada tradition, the year of the Parinibbana is 543 BE. And today we are celebrating the 2566 BE after the Buddha's Mahaparinibbana. And indeed, we are very thankful to Venerable Ananda's devotion, brilliant memory in remembering and preserving our Lord Buddha's word, which is paramount to all Sangha members and later to all our generation and generation to come. I'd like to bring everyone's attention to this sutta as the first part of the sutta indeed stress on a very important point on how the Buddha assists in the growth of nation and the people. The Buddha's ministry for the well-being of the people, for the well-being of a nation or state. And how does this well-being being taught and also being practiced? So it's indeed a very good reflection as we look at the world today and how nation collapse or decline, or how the nations become successful. And the Buddha gave some advice to the people. And the first is, do the people in the state have frequent gatherings and are their meetings well attended? Number two, do the people in the state assemble and disperse peacefully and attend to their affairs in concord? Number third, do the people in the state or in the country, they neither enact new decrees nor abolish existing ones, but proceed in accordance with their ancient constitutions? Number four, do the people show respect, honor, esteem, and veneration towards their elders and think it is worthwhile to listen to them? Number five, do the people refrain from abducting women and maidens of good families and from detaining them? This is also a respect for the women. And number six, do the people in the country show respect, honor, esteem, and veneration towards their shrines, both those within the city and those outside it, and do not deprive them of the due offerings as given and made to them formally? Number seven, do the people in the country duly protect and guard the arahats, so that those who have not come to the realm yet might do so, and those who have already come might live there in peace? So this was what the Buddha has taught to the people in the country of Vajis that leads to their nation's welfare. So the Buddha said, so long as this endure among the people in that country, and the people in that country is known for it, their growth is to be expected, not their decline. Further, the Buddha also gives advice to all the bhikkhus or the Sangha members. And the Buddha mentioned, so long as they assemble frequently and in large numbers, meet and disperse peacefully, and attend to the affairs of the Sangha in concord, so long as they appoint no new rules and do not abolish the existing ones, but proceed in accordance with the code of training, Vinaya, laid down, so long as they show respect, honor, esteem, and veneration towards the elder bhikkhus, those of long standing, long gone forth, the fathers and leaders of the Sangha, and think it worthwhile to listen to them, so long as they do not come under the power of the craving that leads to fresh becoming, so long as they cherish the forest steps for their dwellings, so long as they establish themselves in mindfulness, so that virtuous brethren of the order who have not come yet might do so, and those already come might live in peace. The Buddha further explained 7 conditions and many sets of 7 conditions that leads to the welfare of the bhikkhus and also the bhikkhunis. So long as they do not delight in, are not pleased with, and are not fond of activities, talk, sleep, and company. So long as they do not harbor, do not come under the spell of evil desires, have no bad friends, associates, or companions, and so long as they do not stop halfway on account of some trifling achievement. This is for the practice. And number 3, set of conditions leading to the welfare is so long they have faith, moral shame, and fear of misconduct, are proficient in learning, resolute, mindful, and wise. And the Buddha also further to advise that so long as they cultivate the 7 factors of enlightenment, that is mindfulness, investigation into phenomena, energy, bliss, tranquility, concentration, and equanimity. And next, the Buddha also continued to advise the welfare can be achieved by as long as they cultivate the perception of impermanence, of egolessness, of the body's impurity, of the body's wretchedness, of relinquishment, of dispassion, and of cessation. So these are the advice that the Buddha gave for the lay people and for the country, for a successful country or peaceful country, that when the people can live in a way of how the Buddha have advised them, or for the bhikkhus, so that the monastic and the lay people can contribute to the welfare of the country. Further, the Buddha talks about the 6 conditions to be remembered by all. So long as they attend on each other with loving kindness in deed, word, and thought, both openly and in private, so long as in respect of what they receive as due offerings, even the contents of their alms bowl, they do not make use of them without sharing them with virtuous members of the community. So long as in company with their brethren, they train themselves openly and in private in the rules of conduct which are complete and perfect, spotless and pure, liberating, praised by the wise, uninfluenced by mundane concerns, and favorable to concentration of mind. And in company with their brethren, preserve openly and in private the insight that is noble and liberating, and leads one who acts upon it to the utter destruction of suffering. So the Buddha, even during his last few months, continued to go from one place to another place to unfold his teaching further on the significance of threefold training. The Buddha is our great teacher and role model. He continued to teach and inspire the Sangha and the people for the development of noble being. And first, the training of Sila, virtue, or morality, or principles of humanity. 2, Samadhi, putting right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration, that develops joy, unification of mind, and equanimity. And 3rd, Panya, insight knowledge, skill, realization, and continuity of Dhamma education, training, purification of mind to liberation. And in this sutta too, the Buddha has also defined the strength and the power or the knowledge that is incomprehensible by others. And Venerable Sariputta has boldly mentioned about how that we can understand the Samma Sambuddha. And I think from the past speakers, we also hear that when we see the Dhamma, we see the Buddha. And what is this drift of Dhamma? And Venerable Sariputta said, all the blessed ones, arahants, fully enlightened ones of the past, future, and present had or has abandoned the 5 hindrances, the mental defilements that weaken wisdom, had well established their minds in the 4 foundations of mindfulness, had duly cultivated the 7 factors of enlightenment, and were fully enlightened in unsurpassed supreme enlightenment. So this gives us the spark of how we can understand the development or the attainment of a Samma Sambuddha, and also the drift of Dhamma, that we can see the Buddha with our own insight. And the Buddha also in this sutta continue to stress to educate the people of, the Sangha. Destiny of moral and immoral actions. The immoral man, householders, by falling away from virtue, encounters 5 perils. So all of us would like, of course, to be happy, to be successful. But what are the actions that will make people fall? These are the 5 perils if one do not practice virtue. Number 1, great loss of wealth through heedlessness and evil reputation. Number 2, then a timid and troubled demeanor in every society, be it that of nobles, Brahmins, householders, or ascetics, and death in bewilderment, and at the breaking up of the body after death, rebirth in a realm of misery, in an unhappy state in the netherworld, in hell. So these are the consequences of immoral actions, or immoral person. But however, there are 5 blessings that accrue to the righteous man through his practice of virtue, which is very basic. The first is the great increase of wealth through his diligence. Number 2, a favorable reputation. Number 3, a confident deportment without timidity in every society, be it that of nobles, Brahmins, householder, or ascetics. That's number 4. And number 5, a serene death, and at the breaking of the body after death, rebirth in a happy state in a heavenly world. Now, the Buddha mentioned to us, and again highlighted in this sutta, about samsara and the 4 noble truths, which is important for us. And the Buddha mentioned, bhikkhus, it's through not realizing, through not penetrating the 4 noble truths, that this long course of birth and death has been passed through and undergone by me as well as by you. What are these 4? They are the noble truth of suffering, the noble truth of the origin of suffering, the noble truth of the cessation of suffering, and the noble truth of the way to the cessation of suffering. But now, because that these have been realized and penetrated, cut off is the craving for existence, destroy is that which leads to renewed becoming, and there is no fresh becoming. So the Buddha further explained the 4 noble truths and the 4 attainments. So the Buddha also, in simple poem, say, through not seeing the 4 noble truths, long was the very path from birth to birth. When these are known, remove is rebirth's cause, the root of sorrow pluck, then ends rebirth. So, of course, the Buddha show us the goal of this path, that is the 4 attainments of stream entry, and the once returner, the non-returner, and the arhatship. These are the goal of each and every one, so that one can totally remove suffering and end suffering once and for all. And interesting, in this particular sutta too, the Buddha mentioned about the sharing of merits with devas, and in the how we should live, not only among humans, but among those who are born in the heavenly realm, that the connection between us and the devas. And simplified poem was said, wherever he may dwell, the prudent man, minister to the church and virtues, and having to these worthy ones made gifts, he shares his merit with the local devas, and so revered they honor him in turn, are gracious to him even as a mother is towards her only son. And he who thus enjoys the devas' grace and is by them beloved, good fortune sees. So here is interestingly that the connection of human with devas is mentioned by the Buddha, and therefore, the sharing of marriage with the devas too help in a way of a peaceful community and a peaceful living among human and the devas. So the next one is the Buddha also highlighted how we can actually know that we are on the path and also into the stream that leads to the attainment. So of course, the Buddha said that as long as the teaching consists the Noble Eightfold Path and the people practice it accordingly and diligently and heedfully, the world will never be short of an Arahant. And the Buddha showed how we can enter to the first stage of stream entry. And he shared with us the mirror of the Dhamma. And how can we know that we are on the path? Yeah, that possessing these qualities, that we know that we are on the path. So the Buddha mentioned as possessing which the noble disciple should he so desire can declare of himself, there is no more rebirth for me in hell, nor as an animal and ghost, nor in any realm of woe. So the noble disciples possesses unwavering faith in the Buddha. Thus, the Blessed One is an Arahant, the fully enlightened one, perfect in knowledge and conduct, the happy one, the knower of the world, the paramount trainer of beings, the teacher of gods and men, the enlightened one, the Blessed One. He possesses unwavering faith in the Dhamma. Well propounded by the Blessed One is the Dhamma, evident, timeless, inviting investigation, leading to emancipation, to be comprehended by the wise each for himself. And he possesses unwavering faith in the Blessed One's order of disciples. Well-faring is the Blessed One's order of disciples, righteously, wisely, and dutifully. That is to say, the 4 pairs of man, the 8 classes of person. The Blessed One's order of disciples is worthy of honor, of hospitality, of offerings, of veneration, the supreme field for meritorious deed in the world. And he possesses virtues that are dear to the noble ones, complete and perfect, spotless and pure, which are liberating, praised by the wise, uninfluenced by worldly concerns, and favorable to concentration of mind. So these are qualities that we can know that we are on the path, and the path to the noble state. And this is a way, I think, the Buddha has left this particular teaching for us, the Dhamma, and for us to cross over the other shore. And the Buddha also has shown us how a life is fruitfully lived, and how a death should not be feared, and how we can actually cross the other shore and never to return in samsara. And these are the message that the Buddha mentioned to us, that we should rely on the Dhamma Vinaya as our teacher, and to be unto ourselves an island, and Dhamma is the island. So with this, also the Buddha reminds us that all compounded things are subject to vanish. strive with earnestness. And indeed, that the Buddha's teaching has prolonged for some thousands years, but in 12th century AD, it was totally wiped off by the invasion of other country. And we know that the whole of the 4 holy sites will totally disappear, and the 4-fold assembly, the Bhikkhu, Bhikkhuni, Upasaka, and Upasika, will also totally disappear in India and Nepal due to war and famine, and the arising of other religion favored by the conqueror. However, in the late 19th century AD, we are grateful to Anagarika Dhammapala of Mahabodhi Society of India and all key supporters in the revival of these sacred sites, for the Sangha and the Buddhists to have greater faith in the Triple Gem, and the revival of Bhikkhu and Bhikkhuni Sangha in the motherland and around the world. With heedful striving, today, 2,166 years of the Buddha's Parinirvana, the Dhamma Vinaya continue to be practiced, and the 4-fold assemblies were finally established again. May all continue to strive faithfully towards liberation. Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dhammang saranang gacchami, Sanghang saranang gacchami. So thank you all.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Commemorating the 2566th Vesak and holding of this global Vesak Dhamma program 2022 with the theme Vesak and Timeless Wisdom, Compassion and Purity of Mind for the Development of Vibrant Humanity. Our revered speakers today have done justice to their speeches, highlighting the noble teachings of the Buddha, which were laid down for a peaceful living with love, kindness, loving kindness, compassion for all, for one and all, for the monks, for the nuns, for the lay people, and the ruling people. Everyone highlighted on various aspects of the teachings of the Buddha, how kind he was, how generous he was, and how his teachings are so relevant today. Today, when our world is not in peace, and we feel so relevant. That is what when we have to see the Dhamma, follow the Dhamma, undergo the Dhamma, we feel and see the Buddha amongst us. Everyone spoke very nicely and very diligently in their speeches. They all covered all aspects of the 4 pillars, concentration, the law of nature, and especially Bhikkhuni Sumangala explained from the Digha Nikaya 16, which was indeed very refreshing for one and all to know more about the teachings laid out by the Buddha. So, taking not much time, I would now invite Venerable Bhikkhuni Santini Mahatheri from Indonesia to please propose the vote of thanks.
Okay. Thank you. Namo Buddhaya. First of all, I would like to thank Mr. Nang Jidorji, President of MBSI, who has given the welcoming speech to invite us all to follow this 3-day program in the best possible way. It is hoped that the program will inspire us all to improve ourselves in purifying the mind so that we can contribute to feel good human society. I would also like to give my sincere thanks to all 14 speakers, wonderful speakers in this program. In the first day, Venerable Bhikkhuni Bodhi, in the first day, Venerable Bhikkhu Bodhi states that since the very beginning, the Buddha has received homage from all over the world. We can now see that Vesak is celebrated not only in ASEAN countries, but in other countries as well. Since 2000, United Nations has to even made Vesak Day an international celebration to commemorate the birth, awakening, and passing of the Buddha. In our daily life, we have seen the births of so many babies. Physically, they may look similar, so little and fragile, so cute, so adorable, but we can see many differences as well. Some cry a lot, some laugh easily, etc. From the point of view of Dhamma, we see that every baby is born with a mind, which is not empty like white paper. Every baby brings along what they have attained from past lives, and in every life, they continue developing the habits and inclination they have had in their mind. So every baby comes to this world bringing the flow of consciousness which has flowed so very long time in samsara. In it, we find a tendency, capability, and potency. Born as a baby named Siddhartha Gautama, he brought with him unimaginable mass of mental formation, mental health, mental inclination. Then he exerted himself to attain liberation, which took so very long time. And he ended his life in Maha Parinibbana. My brothers, my sisters and brothers, we are no different. We brought also the flow of consciousness in the journey in samsara. In it, there are also seeds of tendency, capability, and potency of doing bad karma and good karma. But for us, the goal is still so very far away. So let us strive hard and harder to make the spiritual journey closer to the cessation of dukkha. In this Vesak commemoration, let us strengthen our motivation to follow what the Buddha has shown and instructed so that we can free ourselves from samsara. Then, when Bhante Saranankara informed us that in order to welcome Vesak, many Buddhist people do various things. Maybe millions of people spend time to meditate, to discuss Dhamma, etc. These activities can make them feel peaceful, and as a result, they can spread metta to their surroundings. Vesak inspires Buddhists to strive to be better human beings, as Siddhartha Gautama has shown, and as the Buddha had taught. Let us hope that our struggle brings peace to our mind, free from craving, free from aversion, free from delusion. And Venerable Bhikkhuni Tataloka in her speech referred to several suttas. One of them is a sutta in Mahapajapati Gotamiteri Apadana. In it, the Buddha said to Gotamiteri, "Seeing my disciple, one and all in harmony, diligent, ardent, and resolute, always putting forth their best effort, this is homage to the Buddha." My dear Dhamma sisters and brothers, in order to live in harmony, we need to understand the common goal. We need to see other people's conditions. We need to know other people's attitude. We must avoid being egotistical, thinking that my wish, my organization goal must first. We must increase our care and loving kindness to others and develop the mental status of an adult. And in order to get better in our life and in paying homage to the Buddha, we must work diligently, ardently, and resolutely, just like what the Buddha's advice. we must put forth our best effort. And Venerable Dhammananda, in her speech, states that since the beginning of Bhikkhuni Upasampada revival, in this era, the late Venerable Dr. K. Sri Dhammananda had always given his support. Now we can see more and more support and encouragement to Bhikkhuni Upasampada revival given by Bhikkhu Sangha and Upasakas and Upasikas. In order to show appreciation to their goodwill, let us show our seriousness in learning and practicing Dhamma. Just like what Venerable Dhammananda states, it is important for us to check whether our meditation gives fruit, just like what the Buddha taught. It also means that when we learn the true Dhamma, it must be put into practice. It is wrong to practice Dhamma just to get intellectual satisfaction or false pride. Practicing in the wrong way will be like a tree which gives fruit in order to destroy itself. So let us practice intelligently and wisely for our own benefits and safety, and also for the benefits and safety of others. And Venerable Bhikkhuni Palanyani in her speech states that the wonderful teaching of the Buddha has spread all over the world, which indeed deserves celebration. We cannot imagine our lives without the Buddha's teaching. The teaching has brought peace and benefits to all aspects of life. The teaching is the best gift to us in living this short life. Therefore, it is our responsibility to put into our daily practice and to share it to others as well, so that they can also enjoy happiness. Let us do it in the right and good way, the best way we can. And on the second day, Venerable Bodhicitta speaks that in order to find happiness, we must follow the Buddha's path, staying on the right track, which a wonderful step. We must train ourselves, discipline ourselves to erase the ego and to do good karma without wanting anything in return. We see that people can attain arahantship by fully practicing the teaching of the Buddha. So if we really want to free ourselves from suffering, the only way is to understand what to do and do it. Bhikkhuni Dhamma Paripurna gave a wonderful picture of Buddha's life in her beautiful slides, which we can enjoy and learn from. Samaneri Manichitta underlines the importance of doing what the Buddha instructed, that way beings can attain the cessation of suffering. Today, we listen together from all the 5 speakers with the very meaningful speech. Once again, I sincerely thank all honorable speakers and UTBSI coordinators and MBSI. The thanks also go to Venerable Bhikkhuni Sumanggala and Dr. Kiran Lamaji, who worked the moderators for this program. Also, our big thank you to Venerable Bhikkhuni Wijayani, Venerable Bhikkhuni Sadika, and the team of Wisma Sambodhi, who have worked very, very hard behind the screen to prepare so many things to make this program a success. Last but not least, thank you, dear participants and all supportive parties. Thank you so much. Till we meet again in the next program. Before closing this Dhamma program, again, let us fill our mind with the Buddha's word. Let us join our palms in honor of the Buddha. Sabba pasa akaranang kusala saupasam pada sacitta pariyodapanang etang bundhana sasanang Khanti paramang tapo titikha Nibbanang paramang wadanti buddha Nahi pambajito parupaghati samano hoti parang vihetayanto Anupawado Anupaghato Patimokhe Jasang Waro Mattan Yuta Chabhantas Ming Pantan Casayana Sanang Adhicitte Jayogo Etang Bundhana Sasanang Sabbe Sankhara Anincati Yada Panyaya Pasati Athanibindati Dukhe Esamaggo Visuddhiya Sabbe Sankhara Dukkhati Yada Panyaya Pasati Athanibindati Dukhe Esamaggo Visuddhiya Sabbe Dhamma Anattati Yada Panyaya Pasati Athanibindati Dukhe Esa samaggo visuddhiya. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. That was indeed so enlightening and so refreshing. Of course, the vote of thanks that was proposed was too enlightening for us, giving us an opportunity to rejoice in celebrating the 2566 Vesak. Closing our program today, we have a short video for 3 minutes video. That is the video for 9 July, August, and etc., which is entitled Sadhu, sadhu, a happy and a blissful Vesak to one and all. The most venerable Bhikkhu Sangha, Bhikkhuni Sangha, Upasakas and Upasikas, and all listeners. A happy Vesak once again.